I've got to upgrade my system at some point here, but for now, this is what we have. I'm going to make an announcement over on my original Big Discussions 76 channel, and then I'm going to play the intro, and then I'm going to start. I plan to go for about an hour, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But let me make the announcement, and whoever wants to come and listen to what I'm talking about today can do that. Let me make sure I'm live and close that. Let me see. Okay, yep, I am live. Now, what's funny is I saw that Bernard is live right now. So a lot of folks who are at least in that particular sector might be over there watching Bernard right now. But it is what it is. That's the cool thing about YouTube is that there's the playback. So if you miss it live, you can watch on the playback. Let me make this announcement. I see someone has joined me. If you want to shout yourself out there in the chat. There's a bigger, more legendary content creator whose name I won't mention. I think many of my viewers know who he is. I think he was recently deplatformed, and he used to do this thing at the beginning of his streams. I never knew what he was doing, but he was making announcements across his platforms that he was live. Anyway, so I am going to play the intro, and then I just have two short readings that I'm going to discuss today. And then I'm going to wrap up unless someone wants to come and say something or unless there's a lot of activity in the chat. So let me switch back over to my actual channel. All right. And I'll just make this announcement now. I don't have a super chat on Big Discussion 76 Science and Technology. So if anyone wants to make a donation, my Cash App and PayPal are there. Okay, so okay. Yeah, so I'll see you guys on the other side of the intro, and then we'll dive in. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussion 76, Science and Technology. Please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Definitely hit that like button if you're coming in. Like I said, I know there's another, there's a bigger content creator who just went live at 11. And well, I'll just say that I think he's talking about. Well, I won't say what he's talking about, but it's more about mainstream media and culture and those kinds of things. So I imagine there are a bunch of folks over there. So whoever comes through to listen to this, I very much appreciate that, because science topics are not as popular as pop culture and celebrity and relationships and those kinds of things. So I really appreciate those of you who are here. Once again, I don't have a super chat. My Cash App and PayPal are there in the chat. Please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I am a writer, and I'm in the process of finishing up a book, and I have multiple platforms. The link is in the description box. There's a greeting there, and then you just smash that subscribe button. Well, click that subscribe button there at the bottom, and I'm getting ready to send the first one out. I intend to do this monthly, and so your mailbox won't be spammed. But this is just another component or aspect of my content creation journey. So I appreciate everyone who has signed up already. Okay. Today's topic, you guys saw the title, and I'm kind of wondering if I should choose my words wisely with this one because of the nature of it. But just the underlying question will be, do we still need these? Is it time to get rid of these? And a couple of open science hangouts ago, I did post a question: is it still going on? And I think you all know what it is. I have to be very choosy about my words, because the algorithm, we've talked about this, me and Engineering Cannabis and Professor Black Ops, we've talked about how all social media is running an algorithm. So certain words are being monitored, certain discussions are being monitored. So I'll just say, is it still going on? Speaking of Engineering Cannabis, hey, Engineering Cannabis, thank you for stopping through. Okay. He says, hey, Dr. Dunbar, I just saw scientific articles on simulated black holes using deep learning algorithms. Okay. Well, Engineering Cannabis just stole my thunder. While we're going to get to the question, are these still necessary? Is it still going on? I'm going to warm us up with a short article on black holes. So we're going to start with a little bit of astronomy. And also keep in mind that right now across the country, numerous individuals are going back to work. So in my current 9 to 5, we are doing a hybrid thing where I think the majority of us will still be able to work at home, but they're trying to slowly phase us back into going into the office. So I'm going to go into our new office, or I'm going to go into an office setting this week for the first time in over 2 years. I wonder what that's going to feel like. I'll probably get on the metro, which is relevant to this discussion. I will take this with me. But yeah, I'll be going into the office. So with that, the first article involves astronomy. Please hit that like button if you're just coming in. This is a short one. It reads as follows. And once again, my background is not in astronomy, it's in pharmacology, but I volunteered for a number of years at the Arlington Planetarium here in Northern Virginia. And that turned me on to the importance of the astronomy world and the astrophysics world and the NASA world. And there are a lot of people in our community, well, in the community that I come from. I want to keep these streams, I want to invite other ethnic groups in, but from my background, there are a lot of people who aren't thinking about what's happening in outer space and exoplanets and black holes and telescopes and those kinds of things. So this reads as follows. Let me close this. Black holes are proof we're living in a holographic universe. Interesting. This image reads, this is how a black hole can exist in both 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions at the same time. It opens up with these bullets. New math helps to define and explore the surface and interior of black holes. String theory turns objects into systems of numbers that can be studied. Holographic duality could help link standard model and relativity physics for good. I think those are the main points of this article. Black holes have a complex shape. Inside, gravity exists in 3 dimensions, but black holes are also connected to outside particles and magnetic fields that only exist in 2 dimensions. So how can a black hole exist in both 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions at the same time? Scientists say there's a mathematical phenomenon at work here called the holographic duality theory. Juan Maldacena, an Argentine theoretical physicist, discovered the concept in 1997, which states that events inside a space with gravity, like a black hole, are mathematically equivalent to gravity-free events on the surface of that space that involve particles. Okay. In other words, the holographic duality theory could hold the secret link between particle physics, the study of tiny particles that make up all matter, and Einstein's theory of general relativity, which states that gravity arises from the curvature of space-time. In new research published last month in the journal PRX Quantum, University of Michigan, all right, scientists look for support for this holographic duality theory inside of black holes. To understand, we have to review some pretty simple math and then apply the science. Keep reading with Popular Mechanics Pro. So that's a short article. They want you to subscribe to Popular Mechanics. But again, my background is not in physics or astronomy. When you major in the biological sciences, one of your basic courses is physics. So I did do some beginner physics, and I did pretty well at the college level. But beyond that, some of those things I was just reading, my mind was trying to picture what, in fact, this gentleman was talking about. So that's there. My phone gets these pretty much daily, or when I log onto Microsoft Edge, there's a montage of articles that come through. I thought that would be interesting to capture here. Please hit the like button if you're just coming in. So the main topic for today is actually this. I'm going to go to the CDC website. This was, this is from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention website. I don't think this is illegal to talk about, so I'll try to, but I'll be mindful of the algorithm and what YouTube wants us to talk about and not talk about, because we don't own the platform. We're just here using it. But this was big news this week. And I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. But actually, let's see what this says. This says April 18th. So that was Monday. And it pretty much set Twitter. For those of you who are on Twitter, it set Twitter ablaze. People were tweeting about this. People were arguing back and forth. People were like, yay, we won. I have one buddy who felt like, yay, we won. No more face coverings. I think for this stream, I'll say face coverings. And I'm talking about these. No more face coverings on airplanes, subways, Amtrak trains, buses, whatever, were free. So you saw pictures of people on planes taking selfies of the entire plane of people without face coverings. People celebrating, people being happy. And then you had other people lamenting the whole thing and saying, this policy is going to set all of us up to get sick. So I'm going to read this. Let me see. Yeah, I think this is safe to read, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. Sheed, what's going on? Thank you for stopping through. We here. It says, and I believe CDC is right there in the ATL. Okay. As a result of a court order effective immediately as of April 18th, CDC's January 29th order requiring face coverings on public transportation conveyances and at transportation hubs is no longer in effect. Therefore, CDC will no longer enforce the order. CDC continues to recommend that people wear face coverings in indoor public transportation settings at this time. This page will be updated soon to provide additional information about recommendations. Okay, and I think there was an appeal that went out from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I think that's the address of the White House. But there was an appeal for this. But again, this was big news. My home state, I have some buddies up in New York State who are passionate about this and have kept their eyes on this. I think New York State knocked down the mandate for face coverings. And then I just learned yesterday they put it back up because you have a population of people who are like, yay, our personal freedoms are being respected. And then you have another population of people who are like, no, you're gonna make us all sick. It's the event is just gonna keep going. So I'm gonna read a second article. This one is more science news than actual science. And if there's reaction in the chat, I'll see what you guys are saying. If more people come in, and someone wants to come up, I'll drop the link. But if not, I'll wrap up shortly after I finish this second article. It's a little more lengthy. Again, this is more science news. At the heart of all this is science. But this is affecting how we all live and how we all exist. It's affecting our economy. And as I just described, many employers are trying to get some form of employees going back into the office. So the second article reads as follows. So is it still going on? So this is entitled, "The U.S. appealed to reinstate face coverings, but is it seeking to win?" So I think this article is asking, even though there was this appeal, is it really substantial, or is it just a formality or a show of support for face coverings? Because as the master teacher said, we probably can't afford to close things down again. Our country probably can't afford that. Okay. This was written by Charlie Savage and Sharon Lafreniere yesterday. Okay, it says it's a 6-minute read. And there are people there in Chicago. That's in Chicago, not New York City. Please hit that like button if you're just coming in. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Washington. Does the Biden administration really want and intend to fight for a higher court reversal of the ruling this week, striking down its mask mandate on airplanes, trains, and other public transportation, as its high-profile appeal of the case seemed to suggest? Legal specialists raised another possibility Thursday. The administration may instead be buying time and thinking about trying to erase the ruling, a move that would allow it to protect the powers of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to respond to a future crisis, but without reviving a mandate for face coverings. The tell, several outside specialists said, was that the Biden administration was letting days pass without seeking a stay of the ruling, the step that could most immediately resurrect the face covering requirement. Basically, it is giving up on the mandate, said Lawrence O. Gostin, a Georgetown University professor of global health law, who advised the White House on the case. The administration's goal is a legal principle, which is to ensure that the CDC has strong public health powers to fight the contagion and to fight future pandemics. And it appears much less important to them to quickly reinstate the face covering mandate. In fact, the administration has shifted away from face coverings as critical to the pandemic fight for 2 months. President Joe Biden and other top officials have increasingly presented masks as a matter of personal choice, not federal policy. The requirement to mask on public transportation, put in place soon after Biden took office in January, has been the exception. It was set to expire on May 3rd, but with rising contaminations nationwide, the CDC had left open the possibility of extending it again before the federal judge Catherine Kimball Mizell of the Middle District of Florida struck it down Monday. Amid fluid deliberations about what to do, Karine Jean-Pierre, the principal deputy White House press secretary, told reporters that the administration was appealing because the CDC must have the essential public health authority to make critical decisions now and during future health crises. That is what is at stake right now, she said. Because the case turns in part on whether the CDC was justified in enacting the mandate as an emergency measure that offered no room for public notice or commitment, it is notable that the administration appealed the ruling while not seeking an immediate stay. The failure to try to keep the face covering order in place could undercut the government's argument that there was an urgent need for the requirement. Otherwise, they would have tried to keep it in place, legal specialists say. Okay, let's take a short pause there. Keep in mind, everyone, one of the government's directives is to provide for the general welfare and the common defense of the population. So that's why all of this matters. If the government really wanted to fight its appeal all the way to a decision on whether to overturn Mizell's ruling, said Stephen I. Vladeck, University of Texas Austin law professor who specializes in federal courts, then they totally botched this because it's Thursday and the ruling was Monday, and they haven't done anything about it yet. But Vladeck contended that the failure to seek a stay may make sense if the Biden legal team was instead trying to protect the CDC's powers with no real intention of trying to get a higher court to reinstate the mandate. He pointed to an obscure legal doctrine under which, if a case is on appeal, when the dispute becomes moot for reasons unrelated to the litigation, an appeals court can remand it to the district court with instructions not only to dismiss the case, but to vacate the district court's ruling, meaning wipe it from the books. Again, this is science news. We're looking at the intersection of the law and science. The government, he said, may be giving itself that option after the mandate's planned expiration on May 3rd. In her ruling, Mizell put forward a cramped interpretation of the agency's regulatory powers to protect against the interstate spread of infectious diseases. Both she and a majority of the appeals court that oversees her court were appointed by number 45, whose legal advisors openly promoted their search for potential judges who would be skeptical of the power of regulatory agencies. Yeah, that was on Twitter. There were tweets about that too. How is a Trump appointed judge? How can a Trump appointed judge make these decisions on this health crisis? So there were a lot of attacks at the fact that this woman was appointed by number 45. Asked by a reporter Thursday why the Justice Department had not sought an immediate stay, Attorney General Merrick Garland called that a tactical strategy question, giving no further explanation. He said the matter would be resolved by litigators in the Justice Department. But he added, our reason for appealing is we believe the CDC has clear statutory authority for the face covering mandate, and the CDC has assessed it is necessary for the health of the American people, particularly the traveling public. So do you guys feel safe getting on airplanes now with the majority of the people not masked? I think that's a question. Yeah, I'm asking myself, but let me know in the chat. For those of you watching, do you feel safe getting on planes, trains, and buses now with other people who are not masked? Because I think the rationale behind using these was not it wouldn't prevent you from inhaling it, but I think it was to prevent you from spreading it. So if you feel so inclined, let me know what you think in the chat. Do you feel comfortable on transportation with other people? Constructive Consultant says, I do. Okay. Michelle Goodwin, a law professor who specializes in health policy at the University of California, Irvine, said the standards for winning a request to stay a judicial order can be even higher than for an appeal. Fighting for one and losing it, she said, would raise particular risks of an appeals court decision that could take a similarly narrow view of what the CDC may do in a public health crisis, and that, unlike the district court ruling, would also be a binding precedent. Losing sends a very strong message, and not just for the matter that happens to be at hand, but for cases related to public health and safety. The CDC said Wednesday that face covering remained necessary to protect the public health of passengers on planes, trains, buses, and subways. And a recent poll showed that 56% of Americans support the requirement. But airlines have called for an end to the requirement for months. And aside from public transportation, the administration has been deliberately moving away from face covering as an essential pandemic tool for weeks. Asked on April 11th why Biden wore a mask the previous weekend while Vice President Kamala Harris stood over him maskless at an event, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said it was up to each person to decide what to do. Yeah, that's been a controversial thing as well. And that's that President Biden, and this is not political, but apparently when he's giving addresses or whatever, he's not masked, but some people are, or just they're not uniformly masked themselves. So a lot of people have looked at that with scrutiny and said, hey, how come they're not wearing a mask and we have to? Isada, thank you for stopping through. She says, as long as I have a mask, I'm comfortable. Okay. Yeah, I haven't I'm not ditching mine. I'm not ditching mine. Okay, I think this article's almost done. We all make decisions. Some people are in here wearing masks to make them more comfortable. I thought I just said that. Or because they chose to that day, she said, perhaps because they will be around family members or others who are particularly vulnerable. And the president makes that decision, as we all do as well. In late February, the CDC changed its guidelines in a way that made it far less likely that a county would be considered high risk, and specified that it recommended indoor face covering wearing in high risk areas. In areas of moderate risk, like Manhattan or Washington, D.C., those who are particularly vulnerable to severe illness from the contagion should talk to their healthcare providers about whether to wear a face covering, the revised rule says. And this is the ending. Our emphasis right now is on getting people information and tools they need to make decisions for themselves. Greta Massetti, a senior public health researcher who is helping lead the CDC's pandemic response, said in an interview last week, those choices should be based on their own personal level of risk and their risk tolerance, she said. That article was from the New York Times. So, yeah, I think it's kind of I think it's being left up to everybody now. I think it's being left up to the states. I think it's being left up to counties. And there's no uniform federal way to go now. For a lot of people, for one half of the once again, everyone, if you want to make a donation to the channel, I appreciate you being here. That information is here. I know that for one half of the population, this is about public health. For the other half, this is about personal freedom and having our freedoms infringed upon, and diminished by the federal government and the CDC. So you have two separate groups here. I'm going to read some of the comments here. L says, I don't feel comfortable. I feel that too many people are living recklessly and are under the impression that it is over. You know, the way the coverage has kind of gone away, it feels like it's done, but if you're watching the news, well, if you're watching articles online, and if you're talking to healthcare professionals like Rodney, for example, then that suggests that it's not done, which is kind of weird because that means that you're either in a false sense of security or it's actually done. But let's see. Kaylin Baby says, I still wear my face covering because I never caught it. No one in my household caught it. Okay. Yeah, I was in a cigar lounge last night. And well, I mean, you can't wear a face covering when you're smoking a cigar. But pretty much no one in there, even when they walked into the joint, no one was wearing one. I took a flight. I went back to Buffalo at the end of March, and they made us wear our face coverings on my Southwest flights and in the airport. But I think Southwest is backing off that now, as are the other airlines. Also, when I go into the office this next week, I will have my masks handy because I will be getting on the metro. In DC, we call it the metro, not the subway. But it'll be interesting to see how many federal employees also riding the metro are wearing face coverings. So two different populations, and I think BGS has said this. Our country's very liberal in terms of decision making, in terms of who can do what, and in terms of individual choice. So I think now with this thing, I think we're down to individual choice. So, Engineering Cannabis, thank you for commenting. He says, he asks, is the CDC, are the rates that are published on the new variations and no mandates? I'm not sure. I'd have to take a hard look at their site and at their numbers and at their data to see what they're pulling from and how they're pulling it and where their data sets are coming from. I don't know. Okay. Well, everyone, this was a short stream. Let's see. I have a few minutes. If someone wants to say something, I'll drop the link. If not, then I'll shut down and get on with what else I have to do today. But again, this is science policy. This is talking about the government's job. The government's job is to provide for the general welfare and the common defense of the population, that's us. And yeah, in this particular instance, you have decisions that are being made that can and affect the health of the entire population. So the question is, do you take a hands-on approach or do you take a hands-off approach? And I think we're going towards a hands-off approach. I see some more folks coming in. Please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. You know what? I'll wing it a little bit. If you guys have any other science-related questions, and if I can answer them, I'll answer them. But if you have anything else you want to say there in the chat, go for it. I'll hang on for a few more minutes. Ah, Alonzo, the All-Star Advisor has stopped through. What's going on, Alonzo? Thanks for stopping through. Thank you for the support as always. Char Willie, Conversations With, says, greetings, everyone. Hey, Char Willie, thank you for stopping through. I'm kind of at the end here. I just read an article on, well, the first one was on black holes. So we did a little bit of physics and astronomy. And then I read an article about the face coverings and whether or not, well, the way that the current administration is approaching this and whether or not we should still be wearing these. Let me know. Yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the chat. Do you want to get rid of these face coverings? Do you want to continue? Do you feel safe on a flight? On a flight full of people with no face coverings? Let me know. Just I'll stay for a few more minutes and I'll see what you guys say. Because it's a big deal, folks. On Twitter, Coachella was last night. So folks want to go to Coachella. Folks want to go to Vegas. Folks want to go to Dubai. Folks want to go to Cancun. Folks want to travel. Folks want to get it in. They want to go see their favorite artist. Folks want to get out and do things. So Char Willie, thank you for her comments. And she says, wearing my face covering until 2024. Wow, so you're gonna stick with it. Okay. Alonzo says, I was wearing coverings since 2017. Alonzo, why 2017? That's like 4 years before the whole thing happened. He says, and history repeats itself, 1920 through 23 with the Spanish flu. Alonzo, you know what? I don't know if you have a minute. Do you want to? Okay. Kaylin Baby says, my son's school in Oakland County, sounds like Michigan, still has, Southeastern Michigan, still has a mask mandate, and I'm thankful for it, but I noticed most school districts have dropped them. And Alonzo, this is spur of the moment, but do you want to say a few words about this from the insurance perspective? Has this thing impacted the insurance world? Are people taking out more insurance? Are certain individuals now at more of a risk because of this thing? Okay, Alonzo, if you feel like coming up and saying a few words, I'll drop the link. We have to be choosy about our words with this thing because, the algorithm is searching for certain things. If you want to say a few words, the link is there. I know that certain people are more at risk for morbidity, for mortality, people who have morbidities, and those kinds of things. Good morning, Alonzo.
Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for number one, your continued support, having these conversations and stuff, and allowing me to come up. From the insurance standpoint, it actually has had a great impact. Number one, for just on the life side, there's been a 90-day waiting period. So even if you have experienced the virus, you're still eligible for a policy. But what they do is a 90-day waiting period. So they make you basically retest and wait, a full calendar 90 days before that. In terms of things like pre-existing conditions, it's actually causing a huge problem. Because as you alluded to prior, comorbidities. So now in like the healthcare sector, or at least in the health insurance sector, there are, we already had the difficulty of pre-existing conditions. So now it's been made a little more difficult because things are exacerbated by the virus. Or, I suffered from it myself in December, and I still have symptoms of fatigue.
Okay.
So there's that. And even in terms, go ahead.
Alonzo, so for novices like myself, can you explain the significance of a 90-day waiting period? Why that is? Like, what does that mean?
Right. So what they're doing is when they find out through underwriting if there was a positive or there was some showing up of the virus, what they will do is they make you wait that 90 days to see if any complications arise from it or reinfections. At which point, they'll likely decline from there. But beforehand, it's kind of just a way for them to gauge, because it's still so new, that they haven't even created new rates for people who have suffered from it. And, the difficulty is they have created rates because it's ever evolving. And so with the evolution of it, they haven't been able to create rates of mortality, etc., because there just hasn't been enough study of it. It's well, it's new, so it's difficult for them to even study some of the effects. But like I said, when you're looking at regular healthcare, they're also doing that 90-day elimination period. And like I said, the significance is just for them to kind of search and hope that in that 3 months they find something conclusive that will say, these comorbidities are good or not. Because it seems like most people are meeting their end with the comorbidity, not the virus itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be from the insurance stance. It's very difficult because a lot of things, like I said, they haven't created what's called COVID rates, and they will. I promise you, in the next couple of years, they'll have kind of that figured out. Prime example, if a person suffered from, for example, a cancer, they've got rates for that already. And they've already, calculated, like I said, the rates of mortality, how many people pass from ABC, XYZ. With this, it's just so new. We haven't, our actuaries haven't calculated that.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. To switching gears a little bit, what was was there an impact on the insurance sphere from so many people not being at work, or did all the stimulus money kind of just put a Band-Aid on that?
Well, kind of like you said, it actually helped a lot. Because what ended up happening was a lot of people, especially in the African American community, the statistics show that I think it's almost like 61% of African Americans now started going to buy life insurance because of the whole pandemic. So it actually increased. And I did well over the past couple of years because of it. So you had a lot of people who were just so fearful that they definitely did an uptick in purchasing of policies and planning. But what really, really in the insurance field took a great impact was people's retirement. Prime example, my mother-in-law worked for Morgan Stanley for 30 years. She was a financial advisor herself. When she retired 2 years ago from Morgan Stanley, she her 401k was devastated. I'll put it to you like that, to be nice, because of everything that was going on with, the pandemic, etc. And she ended up having to liquidate a lot of her corporate stock. She owned a lot of Coke stock, Coke, Disney, stuff like that. And when I say Coke, I mean Coca-Cola itself, which is KO, not COK, which is Coke Bottling Company. So when you're investing, if you want to invest in Coca-Cola, make sure you invest in COK versus, or I'm sorry, KO, which is actually Coca-Cola, the soda, the beverage company. If you invest in like Coca-Cola, or I think it's COK, you're investing in Coca-Cola Bottling Company, which is a little separate, just a little tad bit there. But the huge effect was on people's retirement accounts, because 401ks and everything were just taking a beating. So that's the huge impact that this pandemic has really had.
Okay. Well, I am Kaylin Baby asked a really good question. I'm gonna wrap up shortly. Alonzo, do you have any other comments right now?
No, not at the moment. I'll go ahead and drop down. I appreciate it.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Later.
Yep. So Kaylin asked, quick question. Did you read about the mysterious hepatitis caused by the adenovirus? I'm trying to figure out if I should say these words. No, that's okay. Did you read about the mysterious hepatitis that's caused by the adenovirus going around in youngsters. How do we protect our children? How do we protect our children? You know what? I've heard murmurings about hepatitis and a wave of hepatitis. I have to do the reading and look into that. Kaylin, you know what? Maybe I'll uh, cobble together some information. I'll do some research and I'll do a stream on that because that's a serious illness. Anything involving your liver, anything involving damage to the liver, that's serious. So thank you for asking that. I'll look into that. I'll look into that because once your liver does a lot of things. I mean, the argument could be made. If you talk to a cardiologist, they would say the heart is the most important organ in the body. If you talk to a nephrologist, they would say the kidneys are most important. If you talk to a hepatologist, they'll say the liver is the most important. I can make the argument that the liver is the most important organ in our bodies because it does so much. Kaylin says the CDC has issued a warning this week. Okay. Now, the other thing, Kaylin, to answer your question, or at least to kind of speculate on it right now, it would depend on how that particular contagion is transferred from human to human. If you can cough it over to someone else, if it can survive, basically on surfaces, those kinds of things, like the thing where we're kind of getting through right now, or maybe just coming out of. The concern was us breathing it on each other, and leaving aerosolized droplets all over the place, and one person walking by and inhaling those droplets. That's so it depends on how transmissible it is, and it depends upon whether or not it's quote unquote airborne. There's some variables there, but I'll do some research into that. Okay. The Imperator says side effects of the immunization. And I think you're talking about the immunization for what we're dealing with right now. I'll just say, and I will use my words. I'll be choosy with my words here. Again, the algorithm. Actually, if you go back to my library, I did do a live stream or two on side effects of the immunizations. In some instances, it was increased temperature, bodily temperature. In some instances, it was soreness at the site of the poke. There were trace instances of Bell's palsy, which is one side of the face going numb, right? But I think that was the majority of it, and it depended upon which immunization you got. Now, what I will say about that, what I will also say about that is that was probably December. Let's see. Yeah, it was right after the 2020 election when those immunizations were approved via the emergency mechanism by the FDA. And at that time, those studies were just underway. So those of us who have taken the immunizations, we're the guinea pigs for that thing, because the studies were 2 years long. So those studies should be finishing up right about now or in the fall. But even then, it's going to take time for Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and whoever else created those immunizations. It's going to take time for them to collate the data, run the statistics, write the final reports. So we won't know the final results, at least probably for another 3/4 of a year to a year. So those studies were ongoing at that time when the FDA approved them. I hope I answered your question. For me personally, I didn't feel anything. I didn't experience anything. I think the first immunization I got was how should I say this? The Johnson. That's the first one I took. Even with the scrutiny it was under, I wanted one. So I took that. I felt when I got pierced in the CVS, I felt a sensation run up my shoulder and then into my neck a little bit. But then it just dissipated. It was gone. That was it. Nothing else. I know some people who took one of the other ones, they felt ill afterwards. And I think that's because when an antigen enters your system, your circulation, your immune system gives an initial reaction, but that settled down after a while. Okay. Are there any more questions? I'll go for another 3 to 4 minutes. Do you have anything else? I want to do something on another video on the kidney series, organ transplant, organ donation. I just have a pile of things to do here, and things have a way of falling to the bottom of the pile based upon what's happening on one particular day. So let's see. Any other questions? Any requests? Any for future streams or pre-records? Any requests? Of course. Well, no, I won't say that. But do you have any requests? If you don't have any now, you can leave them underneath the video, the playback when it's over. Aquateki said, for a month. Interesting. Well, the other thing to keep in mind is that for any therapeutic, whether it be a drug that you take orally or a immunization where you get poked, you're getting a formulation. So you're not just getting the drug active ingredient, or in this case, the antigen, you're getting a formulation. So I think another ingredient that was in those formulations with ethylene glycol. Yeah. So your body may be reacting to the active ingredient, it may be reacting to the antigen, or it may be reacting to the one of the inerts, or it may be reacting to the entire mixture. Char Willie asks, do you advise taking it now or in the winter? Well, I know that there is a time stipulation between the administrations. I do know that. So you're not supposed to, you're supposed to wait a while before getting another one. That's what I would say to that. Yeah. All right, everyone. That's about an hour. So I think I'm going to stop there. Once again, I need to return to my kidney series, organ transplant and donation. I intend to do that. But if you have any other requests, let me know. Feel free to leave comments underneath the stream. Also, you guys can email me. I'm on other forms of social media. There, I think I saw a wee email sometimes. That's my original blog. I have another blog, but that email address right there, bigdiscuss76 at Big Words Are Powerful. I know that's a mouthful, but you can email me there and say, hey, I want to hear about this or hear about that. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And yeah, I have a Big Words Are Powerful Facebook page. That's my Twitter handle for my blogging and YouTubing at Big Words Are Powerful. And I'm on Instagram as well. I haven't really, I've heard that the party is moving over to TikTok gradually. Of course, I'm always late to the party. But if you guys have requests, you can always reach out to me. And I'm starting my newsletter. Thank you to Isada for signing up for that. I'm going to show it one more time. And I'm going to shut down. Oh, by the way, everyone, I'm going to throw this on my community tab, but Art Newstall TV asked to interview me tomorrow. So around 5 o'clock Eastern time, Art Newstall, I think, is interested in hearing about my educational path, which I think is important. Because in our community, we don't have a lot of scientists in our community. And I think imaging, Ron Wills dropped a video, I think it was this week, saying that the media typically chooses to show the worst of our culture, the lowest forms of our culture, but we don't see enough scientists and builders and producers and those kinds of things. So Art Newstall wants to interview me. Art Newstall wants to interview. I can't say it. Art Newstall wants to interview me tomorrow. So it's going to be around 5 o'clock. I think we're going to go for 2 hours. I'm going to make an announcement on my community tab today. And then once we go live tomorrow on his channel, I'll share it over here in case anyone wants to come over and listen. But this is my newsletter. It's the Big Words LLC Newsletter. There's a greeting there. And then the subscription button is there at the bottom. You just click that and enter in your email address. And I promise I won't give your information away to a third party. So this is going to allow those of you who are interested to track me and follow me as not just a YouTube content creator, but also a writer. And writing is one of the major reasons I came to YouTube. But this channel, I think, is important for visibility. So as a Black scientist, as a Black male scientist. All right. With that in mind, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Look out for the announcement on my community tab about my discussion with Art Newstall tomorrow. And once again, once we go live, I will share it here and over on my original channel. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Stay safe out there. If you want to wear one of these, keep wearing it. So please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.